Hi, welcome to another TD Engine video. Okay, we're going to go over TD Engine as a whole. Alright, looking into it, on the left here, you can see my elements tree. Within each elements tree, you can have multiple different elements and choose the actual hierarchy that it builds. Contextualization is one of TD Engine's strengths, and you can have multiple data sources building out these trees. There's two ways to build the actual tree. You can either use our Explorer interface to get some data in, or you can add a tree based on some Excel schema, similar to a tool like PyBuilder, if you've ever used that before. Okay, well, let's pick an element. You can pick any element within the tree. I'm going to go with this one. And you're able to customize how much you can see. Okay, within each specific element, I can edit it, obviously, going in and changing things like the category, the template it's a part of, the default attribute, the location, the latitude, the longitude, and the altitude to show exactly where it is, and then additional attributes. Obviously, you have the name, the path that it's a part of, so where it is on that tree, the template that it's a part of, and the categories that it's tagged in. You can even give it a default attribute and a description. Okay, but some people want to group elements based on their own means besides the tree. For that, we have groups, right? Which is really powerful because you're going to want to group things devoid of the asset tree, which is something TD Engine can do. You also can see that TD Engine supports extensive templatization. This is really helpful because extensive templatization means that you only really have to make something once within TD Engine to make it 1,000 times. Now, a lot of Pi's competitors do not do this. Something like Canary Labs does not support templatization, which means it's going to be very difficult for you to A, recreate something for another element that's similar, B, recreate something at scale. If you can make something once, you can make it 100 times, meaning templates are really important to everything we do. And then, of course, there is add documents. So you can give AI really good context with some of your documents, right? When I click add documents, I can upload a PDF or input a link to give AI context on all of the data I have, meaning I can derive even richer insights. The best part is you can give context to every single part of your asset tree, meaning everything is properly contextualized and your asset tree is fully covered. A really powerful TD Engine feature. Now, one more feature to remember is the general analysis feature. When I click general analysis, I get an overall summary of each element. Now, this summary is going to be even more powerful if I have better contextualization. Here, I can quickly jump in and generate some powerful insights on every single element without hopping in super deep. This feature is available for everything we're going to do in this demo. So from the attributes, the dashboards, the panels, the events, I can get general analysis on every part of my tree and have a full conversation with an LLM on everything I can do. Awesome. Let's move to attributes. That's where the data is. Within attributes, you can see all of the different data points. There's two types, right? The main type being your time series attributes. Those are stamped with timestamp data. Really useful. And then there's also static attributes. Static attributes are attributes like the asset ID or the asset name. They never change, so they don't have timestamps. You can have both types. You can upload a CSV of all of your historical data if you prefer to do that versus real-time ingestion, which is an option for us. You can get the data out by exporting the current list as a CSV, and then you can create a new attribute. Here's where you can get creative. I can rename an attribute, categorize an attribute. So like I can categorize it as a boiler attribute. I can change the display digits and I can change the value type. We have all sorts of different value types, basic types, enumerations, array types, object types, and KPIs. Well, object types even let you store unstructured data. I'll stick with a basic type, like an int. Here I can give it a default value and tag it with a unit of metric. I can even do data reference, just like Pi can. So things like formula and string builder are also possible within TD Engine. Okay, clicking on formula, I can do things like multiply two metrics together. So I can multiply two attributes together, and then I can evaluate it right within this interface, right? So it's possible to do that if I wanted to evaluate. We also have a handful of functions for you guys to play around with, and this part of expressioning lives throughout the entire platform. It's really magical what you can do with this. So there's time series specific functions, comparison functions, and there's even time and date functions. But if your organization isn't satisfied with this, you can also upload your own specific functions to this interface using Python scripts. We know that you want to use calculations based on your own methodologies and your own proprietary sort of things that you do. And that's okay. You can simply code your own Python script that does very similar sort of calculations to what you already do and ingest it into the platform. We call this UDFs, or user-defined functions, and they're a core of what we do. You can add a description, you can set limits, and you can even set a forecast configuration, right? So if you wanted to configure an attribute that is projected off of your data, TD Engine supports the ability to upload your own machine learning models and train your own models right here within the platform. TDGPT is one of those components that allows you to project your data, and you can use this data and project an attribute. You can even add additional properties here. Once you create an attribute, you can templatize an attribute by converting it to a template. Yet another part of TD Engine that supports extensive templatization. Okay, from here, we're going straight into panels. Within the panels section, you can start to see our AI use case. We're going to give AI a second here to generate those templates for us. But these are essentially AI's best recommendations on what panels to generate. The first thing I can do is I can like panels to generate more of one kind, and I can dislike panels to generate less of another kind. When I'm ready, I just click on the panel that I want to generate, and I let AI generate that panel for me. No SQL, no manual attributes, just click generate. Super simple. Once I've generated it, not only does AI help me understand each panel better, it also can give me insights on panels. Now, not only does AI create those panels, it tells me about them. So I can also explain these panels better when I'm presenting them or when I'm trying to draw conclusions from them. As you can see here, it gives me a summary, it gives me a background, and it gives me some key findings. You can even download this summary as a markdown file if I want to use it for something else. We use AI not only to show off, but to also get deeper into our data. And this is all built in, pre-configured. You don't have to set anything up. Okay, let's go back. I'm going to save the panel. I can also generate panels with natural language. So I can say, I want the vibration in a line graph for, let's say, 15 minutes. And there you go. With natural language, porting over dashboards is really, really easy. But it's not super difficult to add multiple metrics and move over all of the elements that you have. Okay, so that's one of the things you could do. But if you wanted to make panels without using AI, even without natural language, you could easily do that. AI is optional, you can disable it, and you can add your own panels, right? And here you would add your metrics. I can add as many metrics as I want. Like let's say 5 minutes of data. You can change this graph to however you like. You can add a fill opacity. You can do things like, change the line style, the linear interpretation. There's so many features within each of our charts that I encourage you guys to play around with. And we have so many different chart types: trend charts, stat value, bar gauge, gauge chart. All of these charts are usable now, and we're not very similar to Pi in terms of look and feel. We're more similar to a tool like Grafana or Power BI, that modern visualization system. What I can do is go ahead and add expressions within this metrics section, or I can write SQL whatever my engineers prefer. The power of TD Engine is the options that it gives you to create. You can also view the SQL directly and adjust it, or copy it and use it in the advanced SQL. Awesome. And the expressioning system lives within the panels as well. I can't wait to see what you guys make with these. Great. Let's discard this. Let's turn that AI back on. Now, panels are amazing, but a lot of people want to aggregate these panels together and create a dashboard. Let me show you how. Go to Dashboards, click Add New Dashboard. Here you'll see we have two kinds of dashboards. The first being that sort of Grafana style. We call it the standard dashboard. Okay, there's also the Canvas style dashboard. What is that? That's more similar to what Pi does in Pi Vision, that asset-centric kind of visualization. So within here, I can add all of the symbols from our symbol list, but it's not limited to just the symbols. You can even add your own panels that we just made to this list as well. You can upload your own images as symbols, and you can draw lines between these to create that asset-centric visualization. But these aren't just static visuals. They can be animated, and they can have metrics mapped to them. So there are so many possibilities, and I'll show you guys what a completed type of dashboard for this one would look like. Okay, let's discard this, and let's create a standard panel. Standard panels, the Grafana style panel. Now, it recommends panels for you to create based off of your template, but you can also use the panels that you already have. So, encourage you guys to add a couple panels in there. We've made a couple, so I added 3. I can change the multi-swim lane to on and off. I can add a background color, so if I wanted a custom color, I could add that in. I can show the grid line as well. So let's make this blue. I can add a radius. If I want it to be more rounded, I can change the width. There's so many different options for you guys to play around with. And I can even schedule reports. Many of our customers want to see these panels in different reports, right? So they want to either get texts, they want to get emails, they want to get messages of this panel every single day, every single week, to kind of show off exactly what these panels can do and to see them more comfortably in a different interface. You can get these through text, email, Slack, Teams, and it also uses webhook. So it makes it really easy to send these panels to you on a recorded schedule. They can be weekly, they can be monthly, there can be multiple sent. It's really up to you, and the possibilities are limitless. Now, once I make a dashboard, I can convert that new dashboard to a template, and I can give it to all of my other elements. So my panels are templates, my dashboards are templates, my attributes, and so are my elements itself. So it makes the recreation process really, really simple. Okay, let's look at some completed dashboards. This would be a Canvas style dashboard, completely finished, to show you guys what that looks like. And for our regular types of dashboards, let's pick one. I'll go with the vessel and exports one. Here's what it looks like, fully customized. These can be templatized. I can change and turn on the multi-swim lane. I can get insights on every single dashboard, so I can learn about my dashboards using AI. I can go through historical data. So if I have years and years of historical data, I could totally cycle through them. And I'm able to see my current time zone and the shortcut time range. If I want a refresh interval, I could turn that on and see my data coming in every minute, and it'll automatically refresh. And one of our most powerful features is sharing a dashboard. If I'd like to share my dashboard devoid of my asset tree or my data, I could completely do that. And it gives me the ability to share these dashboards with others. I can even turn off the ability to see my historical data, preserving your security, and allowing you to embed these dashboards within your websites. These are meant to be embedded in your websites. You can also add specific annotations, and you can download these annotations as markdown files. Amazing. Now I want to show you guys TD Engine's analysis system. Analysis is a pretty important part of Pi. We know a lot of our customers use it, and it's a great way to find some real-time events and generate those events. So let's create a new analysis. Let's call it demo. First thing you could do. Sometimes your sensor is going to send bad data, and that's okay. we can recalculate out of order data for bad timestamps. That is something that can really help you with uh, making sure that sensor data is consistent, making sure all of your data is constantly coming in. There's trigger types, right? Like sliding window, which you can check out, state window, event window, session window, anomaly detection, and even statistical process control. All of these different timestamps are available to you now. Okay, let's take a look at event window. It's the easiest one to kind of explain out of all the triggers that I just showed you. Now using event window, I'm going to say motor current A is greater than 100 as my event window for 10 seconds. From here I can set a severity and allow acknowledgement. I can also add a child expression, but we're not going to do that for this basic one. And then I can also close the trigger. So when does this close? When it's less than or equal to 100. Amazing. Completely done. Now after I define my start and stop trigger, I can define a pre-filter condition and I can add a delay. For the pre-filter condition, if you know your data isn't going to go beyond a certain point, just filter it out. And I can enable fill history. So if I want to enable and generate historical events, I could do that too. I can add an event template. So if I go to AI event template, I can set a reason code and a resend interval and add a filter condition for this event. I can also do a calculation on a rollup. If I want to save a calculation while this event is happening, while this window is happening, I could do that. And I can output it to an attribute. Maybe I want to multiply two metrics while this is happening, or I want to add 10 to this motor current and evaluate that. I could do that, and I could save it as an attribute. And this new feature we've announced, additional actions. It allows you to do some powerful things. Something like, during those 10 seconds, what do I want to do? Maybe I want to do an agent action where I write a comment or create a panel. I could do that. And it just gives you so many more options. Now, I'm going to show you how AI helps you create these analysis. I can say, hey, I want to fire an event when my current is over 100 for 10 seconds. Just like we just did manually, but I inputted it by directly typing. And as you can see, everything I just filled out for me with an LLM through natural language. I can even have an expression. If I want it, I can also remove it. And all of this can be adjusted. It's a great way to get your analyses up and running. And that took me about 5 seconds. But hey, what does it look like when my events generate? Let's go check it out. So when you go to the events section, you'll see all of the events you have, right, within each element. And you can also see the overall events. This section can be saved as a panel. So if you want to save this whole thing as a panel, I could do that, right? I can also export this list as a CSV or import events from another instance. I can get insights from AI on all of this, and I can add this to a trend chart. So we call it analysis workbench. Let's add a couple of these events to an analysis workbench. This is going to be that events frames features that you guys are used to. Event frames is really important. You're going to want to see when these events fire off during a period of time, but we can go deeper with TD Engine, right? You can add multiple attributes to the same event frame. So we're going to add this suction pressure. Now I can see my suction pressure and my bearing temp. I can immediately get information with my data list showing me all of my events and batch data on my attributes. You can even export this as the current list for all of this data in a file. I can see the difference between both of my attributes with respect to time between these two lines. We call it marker line mode. I can enable event line, and I'll only see the events based on the events that I'm hovering over. So if I have so many events, I don't want to see them all. I only want to see the ones I hover over. If I do window analysis, I can do some sort of ad hoc historical window analysis on top of all of the events that I've already done. This is super powerful because it allows me to create more windows than what I already have. I can do a forecast on all of this data. So I can use my machine learning models to forecast the data I have. And I can do alignment by start time. I can enable normalization, and I can even enable an envelope on my data. I can enable XY plot to show my data on an XY plot, and I can do a couple things from here. I can do a regression analysis, automatically built in and shown, right, based on my scatter chart. I can do data aggregation and show you clusters of my data. And then this is a feature that's super powerful for finding correlation in events. I can drag to create a window using the select box feature, automatically creating an event window without me doing anything. And I can put that onto the trend chart. I can find correlation analysis using TDGPT. Here it shows a strong positive correlation, and this data can be exported. I can do a profile search to show similar profiles with cosine similarity or DTW. And there you have it. And I can get insights on these events using AI. All of this is built in and combined, and these are features you'll find in a tool like TrendMiner or Seek. And we do this natively, right? So we do it natively and it's built in. Awesome. And if you give it a second here, AI is going to analyze this, and you can download this report as a markdown file. You'll see the token usage, and you can keep chatting with AI to continue the conversation. How cool is that? Okay, now I want to show you guys TDGPT really quickly. TDGPT is a feature that allows you to project your data. I simply pick a panel. Let's pick this one. Let's go to forecast, click here. And then from forecast, we're going to change some of our settings. I pick the model that I want. Maybe I want to do this time series foundation model, the sampling interval, the forecast data amount. Maybe I want 100, and the historical data amount. And I click confirm, and now I'm projecting my data. Right now, you can project with some of the models we have, or if you go to the admin console, you can use the model management tool to train your own models. It's really amazing. It's almost like all of the data science tools that you already use built into TD Engine itself. And you can even see the results from training your own model. This is amazing because you can have everything in one place. You don't need to go anywhere else. You just need to bring your data. Last part we're going to go over is our AI chat. This allows you to find information on all of your attributes and elements, but also get help building things within TD Engine. So within this, I can say, hey, and you can use any one of these tools that we already have. You know, maybe I want some TD Engine help. How do I build a dashboard? And now my LLM will search through the documentation and give me precise information. It can also write reports on the elements I already have. So it's a really powerful way to create and visualize things without actually hopping into the platform. And this chat is kind of the icing on the top of all of our features. Speaking of, how do I connect an AI model? Go to Admin Console, Agentic AI, Connections, and click Add Connection. Here, I can pick my provider, pick the API URL, and the Anthropic API URL is automatically discovered for Agentic Framework. Any model on the planet works, any enterprise model, any small model, but we understand some of your data is super secure, and that's okay. You can totally use a local LLM, they just won't have an API key. So we make it really easy. We do not provide the LLM, just the endpoint connection. Awesome. You can also observe how many tokens you use here in token consumption. And it's more optimized within our system, so we recommend using our own AI versus building your own because you'll save much more money. Speaking of, you can also access TD Engine through REST API by clicking your profile. There's an API key and you can create for as many as you want. And this allows you to access every part of what I showed you through our REST API interface. Here at TD Engine, we are super proud of our openness. And I hope eventually you guys can explore and try out our platform. And thank you so much for watching today.